Greetings all. Well, I'm going to get back to talking about plants a little bit today. How's that, huh? Vanilla orchids. I've noticed that my vanilla orchid videos are really getting an exceptional amount of views, even though I haven't done one for quite a while. I've actually been having a vanilla orchid problem over here myself. The main one is that my partner Ellen, who is in charge of pollinating flowers, has been so busy with the Gila Orchid Society, with the show and all that, well, she hadn't had time to get up early enough to come on out here and pollinate the flowers properly. So we have lost a lot of the crop this year. I'm up early enough, but my eyesight and my sense of touch is just not capable of doing this. I smash the flowers. But anyhow, I've noticed though that the popularity, the interest in vanilla is huge. Surprises me, considering there are very few places in the United States where you could actually raise a crop of vanilla. South Florida maybe, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, Hawaii. That's about it. It's about it. Anyway, like I said, I'm having a problem with vanilla. One is that my pollinator lady is too busy. The other, though, is that I had been growing a lot of the vanilla by hanging it in other plants. I had it here on coffee trees. I had it on avocados. I had it on cherimoyas, etc. Well, I don't know why, but recently the cherimoya that my vanilla was hanging in has just up and died. Just died. No rhyme, no reason, can't figure it out, but it died, and so there went the cover over the top of the vanilla. The avocado lace bugs that got here a couple of years ago from California defoliated the avocado, and so I have burned leaves on the vanilla due to too much sunlight over there. And then my Mamaki tea apparently has reached old age and is beginning to expire, and so it's defoliating, and all of my vanilla is being exposed to the sun, sadly, and it doesn't like that much sun. So yesterday, Sebastian and I built ourselves a trellis up over here to hold the vanilla under shade cloth. That won't be going away anytime soon. Yeah, we use shade cloth. And in the next few days, I'm going to be pulling down vanilla vines and moving them. I really couldn't think of a worse time of the year to do it because the melon is still in bloom and still setting pods. Well, here you can see there's flowers and beans. Flowers and beans. Flowers and beans. There's more flowers. Flowers. So the vanilla has been hanging here, like I say, and the cherimoya, which is now dead. It's hanging in an avocado over there, which is quite defoliated. So here's what we built yesterday. I got a steel table. I have steel fence panel running straight up on galvanized fence posts. I have shade cloth overhead on bungees. And then right out front here, I got a little step that's where the buckets are going to go. Yep, I'm going to place the buckets right there. And we're going to plant vanilla orchids in them, growing them on pine bark. And I'm going to train them up this trellis. Well, you know, things kind of go in fads or phases, I guess. And it's been ongoing for months now, many months, that I've noticed some of my vanilla orchid videos have been top view items on the channel. People are searching for information on growing vanilla, apparently. Like I said, there are very few places where you can actually grow this crop in the United States. So it's a little odd. Plus, now bear in mind, vanilla does not have any sort of a pollinator that exists outside of Mexico, Central America, and so on. There is a small bee down there that can manage to get its way inside the flowers to do pollination, but apparently it only does 10 or 20% anyway. And without the bee, things are pretty close to zero. I had somebody tell me the other day that without pollinating, they saw a bean in their vanilla plant. So it can happen, I guess, but not much, because guys who do a good job of pollinating around here, like Tom Sharkey, I've seen the work he does. I mean, he will have clumps of beans, maybe a dozen or more, in each bract. You just will get so much if you do it right. But you got to get up early. So vanilla is a job for people who are early risers. You get time for a cup of coffee, and then you're out there on the vines working with the flowers. You have to get them done pretty much within about 2 hours of sunrise. That's another thing. Well, then it's going to take you an entire year to pretty much ripen the pods. The vines themselves, at least here at 1,600 feet, it's about 5 or 6 years to start to see the vines do reasonable flowering. In 10 years, we start to see some pretty strong flowering. As you see right now, I've got some real good flowering happening on some of the vines. But now the vines will only take a certain amount of shade and a certain amount of sunlight. They're a little picky there. If you get enough sunlight on the vines, they're going to bloom heavily. If you get them into too much sun, they're going to turn yellow. And even more sun, the leaves burn, period. So about 50-50 roughly, and the sun that comes on them really should be in the morning hours when the air is cool. Morning sun, afternoon shade, that'd be my suggestion. And whereas I really did enjoy the idea of growing vanilla au natural on coffee and other trees and such like it would in nature, I'm having some second thoughts about that one, because I can't control what happens to those plants. And when the plants defoliated, they created me two problems. I lost the plant, and I'm burning the vanilla. So I think most of my vanilla projects from here on out are probably going to be on artificial surfaces under shade cloth. I think that's what's going to happen. Although I still have plenty of it out here in the woods, and, well, as long as leaves stay on the plants, we'll be okay. But it does take some sideways area. So if you're training it on plants, whatever plants you're training it on needs to have horizontal surfaces that would be within reach, chest height or something, because the vines naturally want to scale straight up. They want to go straight up to space. Well, if you let them do that, not only you can't reach the flowers, but they won't flower when they're going straight up because they're in a vegetative mode. So you're going to want to not only turn the vines, and so we go out once a year or so, and I take a stick and I pull down my vines from the trees, and I turn them sideways, and the same as I do with blackberries, I tend to coil them like rope and hang them on horizontal branches in the plants. By hanging them sideways, it builds up carbohydrate and will then induce flowering. Also, by clipping the tips of the vines. Ordinarily, when I have harvested my pods, so there's nothing on the vines to damage, it's earlier than bloom period, so because this would be, more of a summer, fall thing, then I'll go in and I will take the vines, turn them sideways, pull them down, turn them, and then I will clip the tips too. By removing the growing tip of the vine, it also then builds up carbohydrate and will force more flowers to form on the vines. It's a lengthy process. I mean, I haven't even gotten into curing the pods. I believe I've got some videos on curing the pods. It's very involved. It really is. It's quite involved. And ordinarily, when I'm pulling the vines down, I will break some. They're rather brittle. And that's when I do my propagation. So if I have vines in the nursery for sale in pots, it's because while I was pulling the vines down, I busted some of them. So I take the broken pieces, I put them in pots. I suspect it's the massive price increase in vanilla that's causing interest, I guess. That must be what it is. Although I guess it's not a crop for North America. The plant simply will not perform properly in most places. Down near the Florida Keys, maybe you can get by somewhere down in the favored locations near San Diego. Maybe it's a little dry and hot. The vines don't seem to like it that hot either, frankly. They do a little better up here where it's cooler in the mountains. I'd say in the United States that probably Hawaii and perhaps elevation in Puerto Rico be the two best places you could consider trying to raise this crop. Yeah. So the value of the crop aside, it's pretty limited geographic location for most of us temperate climate humans to be able to establish that plant in. It's also extraordinary amounts of labor. As I said, you got to get up early. You got to find the right flowers. You got to go in. You got to hand pollinate the flowers. If you're lucky, the vine will set pods. You got to manage the vines as they're growing. You can't let them go straight up. You want to tip them. You want to turn them sideways. Then there's the fertilizing too. This is an epiphyte. They're not ground-dwelling plants. Do not attempt to plant your vanilla, in the soil. It just doesn't work. Costa Rica, they will often put a big pile of leaves and debris onto the top of the ground, and then they will hang vanilla in cacao over there, and just let the bottom of the vine kind of dangle in the leaves, and let it root there. Over here on the island, I know Tom Sharkey, he just drops his vines right into the cacao plants. They're not even touching the ground. They just gradually grow their way down to the earth. When we take a vanilla orchid and we take the vine that has a root on it and put that root in the ground, that root usually dies. But if you allow the plant to grow roots from itself down the tree into the ground, those roots seem to do fine. They adapt themselves somehow to soil culture. So you'll find you'll have roots up in the plants or up in the trellises. You'll also have some that will reach the soil. In Tom's case, when he feeds his cacao, the excess fertilizer is picked up by the vanilla. So it's just a hitchhiker. There's a little bit on vanilla. I'll continue the project later on this week. We're going to start taking those vines down, repotting them, rehanging them, and so on. Hopefully do it without completely destroying the crop that's on them. We'll see. But I'll get some more videos of what happens along the line here. All right. So you just stay tuned. Aloha. Y'all hang loose.